This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. On this hot take, I'm going to address one of those enduring mysteries that I just don't understand, which is that Donald Trump has bamboozled enough of the American public to believe that he was or is a successful business person. That mythology is the basis upon which he ran for president. In reality, Donald Trump inherited millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from his father, Fred Trump, who was an actual builder developer, but in Queens, not in Manhattan, in New York. Donald Trump inherited that and has ever since been running from the law that finally caught up with him just this past week in a almost $500 million judgment against him in the New York Attorney General case, finding that he committed fraud, a persistent fraud in the operation of his business, all of his businesses, for at least the last 10 years. That should come as no surprise to anyone. And the purpose of this hot take is to tell you that almost all of the businesses that Donald Trump has touched have gone bankrupt or have gone down the tubes and have lost investors' money, and he's left creditors holding the bag. That was the mythology of Donald Trump is the reason he got the job on The Celebrity Apprentice. Nobody who's actually doing well business-wise goes on a show like that. I mean, Shark Tank's a different story. People there think it's fun, like a hobby, and they've done very well in their careers. But Donald Trump, for those that don't remember, when he joined Celebrity Apprentice, it was sort of a joke. He was not doing well financially. He was on the balls of his ass, having come out of a series of bankruptcies, including ones that put his personal expenses on display. And he had a trustee or a bankruptcy trustee that gave him an allowance every month. That is the Donald Trump that ended up on Celebrity Apprentice. If he was as successful of a business person as he claimed to be, he never would have done that show. But he used that show to try to put himself back into the public eye, to rehabilitate his reputation, to bolster his fortunes. And it worked, because from there, it led him to run in 2016 for the presidency. I will suggest to you that my thought experiment here is that the most successful thing that Donald Trump has ever run was the 2016 election campaign. Because he won. After that, it's all downhill. And before that, he's just a huckster. There's no other way to put it. So we could start with what just happened with the finding of persistent fraud about all of his companies. But I think it's better to take the time machine back and explore all of the failures of Donald Trump. And again, I scratch my head growing up in and around New York and Manhattan during the times when Donald Trump was allegedly successful, to understand why people voting for him believe that he was ever a successful business person. Let me debunk a couple of theories right here. Donald Trump was not a successful developer. There are very few, I can count on one half of a hand, the buildings that Donald Trump put up around the world himself as the developer and contractor. Now, that's in contrast to him signing licensing deals to put his name on buildings. Of course, that's now a mixed bag, because those buildings have less value because they're associated with Donald Trump, because the brand of Donald Trump has taken such a tremendous hit. In fact, Donald Trump likes to say, including the New York Attorney General case, that his brand is worth, $3 to $10 billion. Well, Forbes magazine rated his brand at best at $100 million. That's a big swing. Okay, that's a big swing. But there's a reason for that. In fact, you're hearing a lot now about the renewed information, news coming out about his Truth Social Media merging ultimately with a public company, or a SPAC, a Special Purpose Acquisition Company, SPAC, which was held up because of insider trading, and people went to jail that were involved with this. But now the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is ultimately, to paraphrase Donald Trump, led by Joe Biden, finally approved and is going to allow the merger, which is going to line Donald Trump's pockets. I don't want to blow smoke or sunshine here. He could get up to $1 billion, and if not at least several $100 million when this business transaction happens. But that, which would go into his coffers, I guess, help pay for the $750 million of judgments he now has against him. But let me just explain that when investors got what's called the S-4 disclosure form required under the Securities and Exchange Commission to disclose risk in investment, they had no choice but to list all of Donald Trump's business failures. And so now everything I'm going to read to you right now is not my opinion or my observations about Donald Trump, having watched him for the last 30 years operate in New York, because I've been a lawyer there as well. This is from Donald Trump's own lawyers having to disclose to the public, pursuant to the Securities and Exchange Commission, how bad of a business person Donald Trump has been. Let me just read to you from the document. Here's what it says. Under Trump, under risks, this is again Trump's lawyers. A number of companies that were associated with President Trump have filed for bankruptcy. There can be no assurances that the Trump Media and Technology Group, that's what owns Truth Social, will not also become bankrupt. It's a very candid observation. I know he's busy, he's busy extolling the virtue of having sold 1,000 $400 pairs of shoes to who knows who, and sneakers emblazoned with the Trump name and a flag. But this is not going to get him out of his hole, nor does it change the disclosure that he's a frequent bankrupt and you shouldn't invest with him. But the disclosure by Donald Trump goes on. The Trump Taj Mahal, which was built and owned by President Trump, that was in Atlantic City, New Jersey, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1991. Side note, I've been involved with companies that have owned gaming operations. It is very difficult for somebody to lose money in the gaming and gambling and casino owning world. I think Donald Trump is basically one of the only people that found a way to lose money running a casino. Think about that. So they had to disclose that in 1991, he had to file for bankruptcy for the Trump Taj Mahal. The Trump Plaza, the Trump Castle, and the Plaza Hotel, all owned by President Trump at the time, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1992. THCR, which was founded by Donald Trump President Trump, they like to call him, in 1995, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2004. Trump Entertainment Resorts Incorporated, the new name given to Trump hotels and casino resorts, after its 2004 bankruptcy, declared bankruptcy in 2009. That sentence alone, the lawyers involved for Donald Trump should be given a bonus. The fact that they were able to write this sentence with a straight face. Let me read it again. Trump Entertainment Resorts, Inc., the new name given to Trump hotels and casino resorts after its 2004 bankruptcy, declared bankruptcy itself in 2009. But that's not all. Then there's a list of companies that had license agreements with President Trump. They love calling him President Trump. But in this context, they sort of like it because they keep having to say President Trump is a terrible business person that you shouldn't put your money with. Unless you get sneakers. If you get sneakers, you can wear them. I guess you're getting something tangible. You're getting something of value. Okay. That's better than being his investment partner or his lender. That's worse. So they go on to say the companies that had license agreement with President Trump that have failed, and then a colon and a list. And here we go. Trump Shuttle Incorporated, launched by President Trump in 1989. Not exactly. He acquired the assets of Eastern Airlines, which ran a very successful shuttle between New York and Boston and New York and Washington. Donald Trump took it over and within 1 year found a way to drive it into bankruptcy. So he acquired it he said launched it, but it's not. He acquired it in 89. He defaulted on loans related to it a year later in 1990, and it ceased to exist in 1992. You know what we say about the MeidasTouch network, that, truth is golden, kind of a play on King Midas? Donald Trump is like King Midas in reverse. Anything he touches turns to bankrupt assets. But it goes on. Trump University, founded by President Trump in 2005, ceased operations in 2011 amid lawsuits and investigations regarding the company's business practices. That is underselling what happened by a lot. The New York Attorney General at that time, Eric Schneiderman, brought a cease and desist case and for damages in which Donald Trump and his family members agreed never to run a school again, and he had to pay a substantial fine as a result. Turned out that some of the motivational speakers being used as quote-unquote instructors for the schools, some of them had criminal records, sort of like the dean of the school Donald Trump is going to have. But we're not done. Trump vodka, oh my God, I'm sure a second-year associate in a law firm wrote this, and then had to have it approved. Trump vodka, a brand of vodka produced by Drinks Americas under a license from the Trump Organization, was introduced in 2005 and discontinued, code word, went out of business, in 2011. But it goes on. The S-4 filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Trump Mortgage LLC, a financial services company founded by President Trump in 2006, ceased operation in 2007. GoTrump.com, a travel site founded by President Trump in 2006, ceased operations in 2007. Are you seeing a pattern here? I wish Donald Trump would cease operations. If he would just cease operations, we wouldn't have to be talking about our democracy hanging in the balance. But I digress. Let me return to the securities filing by Donald Trump. Trump Steaks. I'm already hungry. A brand of steak and other meats founded by President Trump in 2007 discontinued sales 2 months after its launch. I repeat, this is a filing written by Donald Trump's lawyers. I know you're thinking this must be some Democratic conspiracy cabal hack that wrote this. No, Donald Trump and his lawyers. The S-4 filing also observes that President Trump is involved in numerous lawsuits and other matters that could damage his reputation, cause him to be distracted from the business, or could force him to resign from TMTG's board of directors. Among them, and this is back when he had to file it, a congressional committee is investigating his role, if any, in the Jan 6th insurrection, well, they call it the violence at the United States Capitol. And then he's got other lawsuits. Now, this is before, mind you, this is before he's already been adjudged by E. Jean Carroll in 2 separate juries to have raped her and to have be responsible for punitive damages and have defamed her to the tune of combined almost $89 to $90 million, with interest running at 9%. That's before the New York Attorney General, after a 11-week trial, got a new judgment. Sometimes they say verdict, but it's really a judgment against Donald Trump for what will be, with compounded running interest, almost $500 million, and a ban on him operating in New York, really any business at all, period, for 3 years, and can't take out any loans to any bank that's registered or chartered in New York, which is like every bank in the world. That's in a subsequent S-4 that they've had an update related to their filings. So, I mean, look, that's out of his own words, and all kidding aside. I never understood, having grown up in and around New York and watched Donald Trump take what was a relatively safe but boring set of assets he inherited from his father, and then completely grind that into the ground and stub it out like a cigarette over the ensuing 30 or 40 years, using many of the people that his father had hired, like now disgraced felon of a chief financial officer and not a certified public accountant, Alan Weisselberg, and Jeff McConney, and the rest of the people that are going to jail or should go to jail as a result of their operation of the Trump Organization with Donald Trump. And so how Donald Trump has been able to escape, I mean, I don't know what people think on the Republican side or on the MAGA side. Michael Cohen went to jail for being a fixer for Donald Trump, for being his Michael Clayton, if you will. Alan Weisselberg went to jail for being a tax fraud. Jeff McConney cooperated in order to avoid going to jail, and he was the controller for the Trump Organization. So everybody's just a bunch of criminals that Donald Trump hired, but he at the head, as the top, as the godfather of the organization, he's clean. I just don't, it's the fault of the judges and the prosecutors for the crimes and the fraud that he's committed. That's not what juries say. That's not what judges say. I mean, look, in New York alone, 2 juries and a judge have found that Donald Trump, in no particular order, raped a woman in a dressing room in a department store, defamed her, is responsible for punitive damages related to her, and that he operated a persistently fraudulent company for at least the last 10 years. That's 2 separate federal juries and 1 New York State Supreme Court judge. There's going to be another jury in New York in March to determine whether he committed business fraud, criminal business fraud, and election fraud in the 2016 election. Okay, that's just in New York. While we wait to see the DC election interference case go forward, probably in July, Georgia will tune back in once they settle out on the Phony Willis, Fulton County motion to disqualify situation. And then we've got the he hid and obstructed documents that belong to the American people in Mar-a-Lago case. And yet, the polls remain close. I can't for the life of me know why. I get that people have a problem with Joe Biden's age, but I'll posit this on this hot take. I don't know. I mean, I have my own opinion about why two old white guys are running against each other. One of them happens to be the president of the United States, so I'm in favor of him. But having said that, I can't figure out why age doesn't cancel each other out. They both were in high school at the same time together. That's the way I like to think it. I mean, Donald Trump was a sophomore and Joe Biden was a senior in the same high school, basically. I mean, we should not be talking about age. You might want to have a bigger, broader conversation about, why these are the elected officials at the particular moment in history and time. We know why Joe Biden is, having come off of the chaos of the Trump first administration. But age should not be a factor. The fact that there's malapropisms and some slip of the tongue and some forgetfulness, this is a high pressure job, man. This is a lot going on domestically and foreign policy wise. And yes, and you got to look at the full body of the administration. That's why it's called the Biden administration. Yes, you vote for the president, but look at the people around him and the quality of the people around him. Look at the people that he has in all the major decisions that matter to you in your life. That is what you should also be looking at. The administration that would be coming back in. And so I want to just debunk here on this hot take, this mythology of Donald Trump, that he's some sort of titular titan of industry, when he's not at all. There's plenty of reporting now that developments that even have his name on it, that are just from license agreement and not from his own development, want to rip the name off to increase the value because the brand value is in the trash. Because of Donald Trump, because of the list of things I just read you from his own Securities and Exchange filing. Now, look, we'll continue to follow everything about Donald Trump to give you the truth, to give you the straight scoop without smoke or sunshine. Legal AF is the place you'll find it. And the title is exactly what you think it is. It's only on the MeidasTouch Network on their YouTube channel on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I co-anchor it. And then on hot takes like this one to update you along the way with our own analysis. So if you like a hot take like this, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps with the ratings and keeps us on the air and me coming to you uninterrupted. And until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.